Shalom, shalom, shalom. Israel's brothers are Yalla.
Brother Marquez.
Khan coming back at you with another morning session, man. We took unprecedented break, some weeks off, getting some high holy days and things of that nature. Now we back through the spirit, finishing up Leviticus chapter 25, continuing Leviticus chapter 25, going into various laws, the land Sabbath, right? The Jubilee year of Jubilee, right? The redemption of the land, right? How to deal with your brother, how to deal with your neighbor, those that fell on hard times, that may be poor, strangers, right? There's various laws in Leviticus 25, that you want to know about, and these are the laws that's also going to be kept in the kingdom as well, dealing with the land. And we have to teach the heathen these laws as well, because they're going to be tilling our land. They're going to be building up the walls. They have to know how to keep it, and we got to know how to keep these laws as well. All right, so shalom to those on the comment board: Sheena Page, Brother Believe, right? Louis GB, W5 St. Louis, shalom to those mighty brothers out there doing the work of the Most High, man. Shalom. Brothers had a mighty Purim down there, man. All right, but we're gonna keep rolling through these chapters. I think we left off on verse 22 last time. All right. And now we're gonna keep rolling through this chapter. So let me pull this up through the spirit. All right, let me share my screen. All right. Keep rolling through Leviticus chapter 25. Man, we want to know these laws. This is our book. This is our book. So we want to know these things, right? So Leviticus chapter 25. Verse 22, and you shall sow the 8th year and eat of the old fruit until the 9th year, until her fruits come in. You shall eat of the old store, right? The Most High gave us a surplus of food 3 years so that land can have a rest, right? Verse 23, the land should not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for you are strangers and sojourners with me. So the land actually belongs to the Most High, right? The land belongs to the Most High. It don't belong to me. It don't belong to the brother Marquas. It didn't belong to damn King David, King Solomon. It didn't belong to no man but the Most High. That's why the land can't be sold forever. Right? Verse 24, in all the land of your possession, you shall grant a redemption for the land. Right? That's what you have to do. You should be able to grant a redemption for the land. So if you sold the land, you should be able to have that brother or that sister that purchased the land. They should be able to redeem that. Right now, let's see this real quick. I want to bring this up. Right? Can you see this? Right? This is property taxes. Right? This is property taxes. Now, when did the Most High give man and told them you have to tax them on a property? Right? It says property taxes. A property tax is a tax levied on real property, land, and buildings, both residential and commercial, on personal property, business equipment, inventories, and non-commercial motor vehicles. So basically, you can pay off your mortgage if you own a building, whether it's for living or even if it's for your business. But then that property tax is forever, because technically Esau says, well, no, it's not the Most High's land, it's my land. Right? So Esau, he makes you pay property taxes all the days of your life until you're dead. Right. That's evil. When did the Lord tell Esau to damn put property taxes on the children of Israel? I thought the Lord said the land is mine. I thought that's what the Lord said. But Esau wants to put property taxes on the land. Right now, let me look this up real quick. I got this real quick. Right, the Balfour Declaration. Right, the Balfour Declaration was a public statement issued by the British government in 1917 during the First World War, announcing its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Right? Let me jump down. So basically, kind of want to give that land of Israel to the damn Eastern Europeans. right? And it says the opening, jump down, the opening words of the Declaration represent the first public expression of support for Zionism by a major political power. The term national home had no precedent in international law. It was intentionally vague as to whether a Jewish state was contemplated, right? The intended boundaries of Palestine were not specific, and the British government later confirmed that the words in Palestine meant that the Jewish national home was not intended to cover all of Palestine, right? So they kind of wanted to, give them a land, but they didn't really know how to do it yet, right? Then when you kind of go here, right, the creation of Israel 1948, 30 years later, right? It says on May 14th, 1948, David Ben Gurion, the head of the Jewish agency, proclaimed that establishment of the state of Israel. U.S. President Harry S. Truman recognized a new nation the same day. So they gave that land to Amalek. They gave that land to Amalek, the Amalek national home in Palestine. When did the Lord say to do that? The Lord never said that. But these people want to give you property taxes, take your land, and then give it to another people. That is evil. Let me get this precept real quick in Ezekiel 36:5. All right. Let me get this precept real quick. And let me know if you, like I said, if you got a precept here. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36 and verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. Who's Idumea? This is Idumea, these people, right? The Lord said, I'm speaking against them, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. So these people, they took the Most High's land with the joy of all their heart. They selling it, they giving it to whomsoever they will. Right? Didn't the Lord say these people, they covet fields? Like I said, these they don't keep these laws, man. Right? These laws are perfect. They would have known that this belongs to the Most High. Right? But what the Lord said, this is Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. Woe unto them, right? This death and destruction to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, right? They just do it because they can. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Because the land is a part of your heritage, right? You have a land, you have the people that dwell in that land, right? We have a God that rules over in that land. We have laws according to that land. And guess what Esau do? They covet fields and then they take them by violence. Isn't that what they do when they foreclose on your house? They take it by violence. Let me look that up. You ever heard of that foreclosure?
Come on, yeah. I got a precept after you tell me.
What is foreclosure? Let me spell that. What is foreclosure? The action of taking possession. You can't make this up.
Just,
of a mortgage, huh?
Just stealing.
They're stealing of a mortgage property when the mortgager fails to keep up their mortgage payments. Meaning, if you're not paying up, they have the right to come take it. Get out the house now. Right? Get out the house now. They the action of a taking of a possession. These people covet fields, and then guess what? They take them by violence. They'll put you in handcuffs in houses and take them away. You cannot make this up, man. They take your possessions away. They'll take your land away. Right? But you got it.
And I believe it's a term for the military. If the military kind of need your property or your area, they can legally kick you out the area, I believe, if I'm mistaken.
Yup. Hold on. Let me see if the Fourth Amendment. Right? Let me see. I think that's the Fourth Amendment. Yup. Let me see what those are under the law. It's like the Third or Fourth Amendment or something like that, where they can kind of do that.
Yeah, I think I got it around from the send it to you.
It's one of these. It's one of these unrighteous amendments.
Right.
Damn, damn, they got damn laws where yeah, the soldiers can kind of come in. Let me look that up. What amendment? This is evil. Look, I mean, this is evil. Can force soldiers seizing your home. Kind of Third Amendment.
Third. Okay.
The Third Amendment: no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time or in a manner to be prescribed by the law. Right?
I got something pulled up too. It say the I don't know if I can share my screen. Can I share it?
I gotta do it.
Okay, can I let me read it real quick because it ain't letting me send it.
Con.
Right, but, or you could type it in. Type in uh LLI, the illegal, well, the legal information institution. Right, legal.
Illegal
No, it's legal information institution.
legal information institution. Okay, con. Which one? You see it?
Let me see. It's yeah, that one right there.
Okay.
Yeah, go to should be able to scroll down. It got kind of like letters. If it's not gonna pop up on your screen, then I'll probably just read it on my end. Scroll down. Yeah, it ain't popping up. I could just read it on my end.
Con, you
But
got it.
it's a in the Slovakia. Let me find it. All right, and the Secretary of Military Department determines that the use of condemnation, exemptment, dominion, or siege to acquire an interest in land is required under subjection to satisfy a requirement vital to the national security, and that any delay would be detrimental to national security or protection of health. So if you poor, you got nowhere else to go, but the military kind of needs your spot. They just gonna come in and take it, and they gonna leave. They gonna God knows what they gonna do to Jake. Whether they kick him out and send him to another house for a certain amount of time. Nevertheless, they can legally come in and take your land, right? Take your house, take your backyard, destroy your house, and use it for military drills, and then go overseas and rape, rob, and murder. Right, but I got two quick precepts. This Second Kings chapter 17, and at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 22. So when you read Second Kings, the 17th chapter, it goes into how the Lord sent the northern kingdom into captivity under the Assyrians, right? Salmanassar the fifth, and how after he kicked them out that land, he had heathens inhabit the land. Right, this is the book of Second Kings, chapter 17, right, and verse. Let's see, pull it up. Second Kings 17, and verse number 22. It says, "For the children of Israel walked in the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight." Meaning the Lord kicked them out the land. Right? It says, "As he had said by all his servants, the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their sight in their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and Cutha and Cutha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof." So that's what the heathen did. And every time Israel goes off, what does the Lord do? He kicks us out of our land, and he has the heathens inhabit the land. And they defile the land and do all type of wickedness and folly and madness in the land. Right? That's why when you keep reading on in this chapter, I'm gonna keep reading verse 25. It says, "And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling. There they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them." So they was doing the land so foul and so vile that the Lord had to send lions among the land just to slay some of the wicked men that was in there, the wickedness of the heathen, because they came in, they defiled the land, kicked us out, put us in captivity. So the Lord had to judge those men by sending lions during, right? Jumping down a verse, and when you keep reading down, we get the context. When you keep reading, it got so bad to where they went back to Assyria, the heathens. They found a priest so the priest can teach the wicked heathen the customs of God in the land. Right? Jumping down to verse number 30. Verse, this whole thing fire. Jumping down to verse 32. So they feared the Lord and made unto themselves of the lowest of the priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. They feared the Lord and served their own gods. That's confusion. That's off. How do you fear the Most High, but you serving your own God still? And that's a cut to show that the heathen, they physically, spiritually have no discernment on how to fear the Most High. All right, that cuts all that Christianity. God came for everyone. Look, the heathens, they can be saved. But going back to the point, you had the heathens, they came in, they defiled the land. The same way how Esau's doing that now through the Spirit. All right, gets the book of Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse number 4. Right, Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4. It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. So the white man, he doesn't stay in his own homeland. Right? Everywhere you go in the earth, he's there. And we really go into it. Esau is the smallest of all the nations, yet he's around the four corners of the earth, running every kingdom, every country, or has his hand within every kingdom or every country. So the Lord said he doesn't stay at home. He's all throughout the four corners devouring. Reading on, it says, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. See, that's off. He's just going on, just desiring, lusting after all nations and all people. That's why the Lord that's why the Lord has the law. Leviticus the 25th chapter, Deuteronomy the 15th chapter, to show how we should take care of the land, go into the laws of redemption, go into how you should take care of your land, take care of your brothers that may purchase or redeem the land, etc., that it may be done in righteousness. Because when the heathens get into it, I mean, all men are hell is breaking loose. Again, like the brother pulled up, you got the so-called Balfour Declaration. Esau's in the land is all defiled, it's crumbled up. Gentiles is defiling it, and they've been doing that for years on end. Why? Because Israel just couldn't keep simple laws as Leviticus, the 25th chapter. All right, but you got it.
That's right. That's right. And I think the brother King Astro in the comment board says something about eminent domain. All right. And I looked it up. Right, this is Illinois, but I'm pretty sure it's all over Esau's 50 so-called 50 states. Right? Eminent domain gives the government the power to take your property, even if you don't want to sell it. But under the Fifth Amendment, eminent domain must be used for a public use, which traditionally meant projects like roads or bridges. So they can basically take your home and do what they will with it. They'll throw all your stuff outside and they just oppress you. Just straight up oppress you. That's what the Fifth Amendment. That's what it just basically oppresses you. That's all it does. Even if you don't want it, they'll come in and they will just take your property. You worked about 66 hours that week. Esau already took half your check in taxes and then gave it to Ukrainians. And then the money you had left, you bought a property. You know what I'm saying? You still got to pay property taxes forever. You may put a bed in there with a TV. And then Esau just comes in and says, you know what? I don't know. Give me this property back. And you don't get the money back for it. That is straight madness. And that's why the Lord has to judge these heathens. Judge damn Esau, man. All right, but we can go back to that in Leviticus. All right. As you can see, these nations don't keep these laws, man, and that's why we have to. That's why we got to know this law, know these laws, because once you know the laws, you really understand how wicked these other nations are. You really get a deeper understanding of how wicked these nations are, man. All right, so let's go back to Leviticus 25 and 24, and it says, "In all the land of your possession, you shall grant a redemption for the land. If thy brother be waxen poor and have sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold." So let's say, you fell on hard times, just in modern terms, you sold your car, right? And you sold, you sold your car, you sold your phone, right? And then you working, but your brother can come. He say, you know what, I'm gonna buy that phone and I'm gonna buy that car back from my brother. That's lawful. Your kin can come and redeem what you sold away. You may sold some of your garments. Your brother can come and say, no, hold on, here's the money for that. Give it back to him, right? That's lawful, right? But it says, and if the man have none to redeem it and himself be able to redeem it, right, then let him count the years of the sale thereof and restore the overplus unto the man when he sold it, that he may return unto his possession, right? The overplus, as we talked about earlier, leading up to Jubilee, right? So let's say he sold it, and there's 30 more years left into the year of Jubilee, then he has to buy that back plus the extra 30 years that man would have used that thing for, if that makes sense, right? So if he sold that car and he sold that phone, right, to that man, but he has the money to buy it back, but there's still 30 or 20 years left to the Jubilee. He has to pay for that 20 and 30 years in advance because that man was going to use it until the year of Jubilee. All right. Verse 28, but if he be not able to restore it unto him, so let's say you have the money, but you don't have it, the overplus, right, until the year of Jubilee that man would have used it for, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him have brought it. It's like that have bought it until the year of Jubilee, and the Jubilee shall go out, and he shall return it unto his possession. So you gonna get it back. You just gotta wait that time frame until the year of Jubilee happens all over again, right? But if you want it back earlier, you have to, restore. You have to have the money for that and the overplus, right? So this goes into the laws of the redemption of the land, or if you sold your product or whatever you had, right? Verse 29, and if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, right, then he may redeem it within a whole year. After sold within a full year may he redeem it, right? So these laws are perfect. As we always say, there's laws even dwelling in cities and dwelling outside the city, because we have cities, right? You had cities in the ancient world. You got to know how to deal with that, right? And it says, I'll read it again, if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year. After it's sold within a full year may he redeem it. So you have 1 year to redeem that, right? And if it be not redeemed within the space of 4 years, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that brought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the year of Jubilee, right? So if you had a house in damn, just for sake of terms, I'm trying to think about a city back in the ancient world, right? Let's say you were living during the time of Abraham, right? And you were damn in the Ur of Chaldees, right? A city during that time. And you lived in the walled city, right? If you sold that, your house and you don't redeem it in the full year, you're not getting it back in the year of Jubilee, right? You have 1 year to get that house or that wherever you dwelt in that city, right? Verse 31. But the houses of the villages which have no wall round about them shall be counted as the fields of the country, meaning it shall be counted as the land. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the year of Jubilee. Why? We read it in verse 24, verse 23. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for you are strangers and sojourners with me. So if it's outside the walled city, it's considered the land, right? It's considered the country, what is it? The fields of the country. So it has to go out in the year of Jubilee, right? If you be not able to redeem it within that time, right? It has to go out in the year of Jubilee. Now it's going to tell you something different about the Levites, right? Verse 32. Now, this is, like I said, this is going, for all the tribes of Israel, but verse 32 down to verse 34 is going to be it's more specific for the Levites, and it's going to show you why. Right? Verse 34, 31, Slaki. 32, Slaki. Notwithstanding the cities of the Levites and the houses of the cities of their possession, may the Levites redeem at any time. So the Levites, they don't got to wait till the year of Jubilee. They can redeem their house in a walled city. They can redeem their land at any time, right? They don't have to wait until the year of Jubilee, right? And it says, if a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold in the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee. For the houses of the cities are the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. But this field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. So the fields of the country, the Levite, you can't buy that from them. Now, if it's in a walled city, yeah, but they can redeem that anytime. Why? Let me go to Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 9. Right? Levi, they didn't have they didn't have like a allotted inheritance like the rest of the tribes of Israel. They dwelt around the tribes. Right? It's Deuteronomy 10 and 9. Wherefore Levi have no inheritance with his brethren. The Lord is his inheritance according as the Lord thy God promised him. So Levi, they dwelt around the other tribes. So they can redeem. You can't. They wasn't selling their land off forever, because where would they dwell? They will be oppressed. Imagine just buying up all the lands of Levi. Where they gonna be at? That's evil, right?
I got a quick precept on that too.
You said what?
I was saying, it's like I got a quick precept on that too.
Come on, you're just buying up all the lands of the Levites. They're not gonna have anywhere to dwell. So that's why you couldn't sell their land off forever. They couldn't sell their land off forever. Makan, what's your precept?
Khan, that's the book of Genesis, right? Genesis chapter 29 and verse 34. All right, yeah, like the brother going into Levi, Levi, they weren't given the land mass. All right, when you read the book of Joshua, read towards the end of Deuteronomy, read the book of Judges and see how we was going in the lands and conquering it, you realize that Levi never got a land. Because Levi, his name means joined unto or joined. Right? And who is Levi joined to? He's joined to the Most High. The Most High is his inheritance. All right, this is the book of Slaki. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 29 and verse 34. And she conceived again and bare a son and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. Right? Said, therefore was his name called Levi. And again, Levi, he's joined to the Most High. I want to get this another quick precept. Judges. All right, Judges chapter, I believe that's chapter 10. All right, I believe his name Micaiah.
Huh.
Right, the Levite. That's Judges 10.
I believe so. Let me go.
Let me find this quick precepts like here.
You good?
Right, when you read the book of Judges, you had the tribe of Dan. Right, the tribe of Dan, they was going off and they went up to this Ephraimite and they kind of robbed them. Judges 17, Con.
Yeah.
Right, let me get that real quick. You have to bring it out.
Kanye is Judges 17 and verse 8, I believe. Yep.
Con. Right, this is the book of Judges, Con the water. This is Judges chapter 17 and verse number 8. I'm starting at verse 7. And there was a young man out of Bethlehem, Judah, of the family of Judah, who was a Levite. So you had this Levite in the land of Judah. Right? Now, why is he in Judah? Because he doesn't have a landmass. He dwells in the midst of the rest of the tribes, like the brother went into. They got suburbs. All right. It says, and he sojourned there. And the man departed out of the city of Bethlehem, Judah, to sojourn where he could find a place. And he came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, as he journeyed. right? So he's going from one city to another to find someone where he can do their sacrifices and their offerings as the office of a Levite. Again, you never read about Judah doing that. Judah traveling from city to city, trying to offer up offerings for Issachar. No, that was Levi doing that. So Levi was in the midst of all the tribes doing what he got to do to serve the Most High. So that's why when we read Leviticus, the 25th chapter, Levi, he kind of had more leeway than the rest of the tribes because he was kind of, he had privileges. Levi has privileges when you read the Bible. Levi can do certain things that the rest of the tribes just can't do. And Leviticus, the 25th chapter, verse 32 and down, is one of those things where he can kind of redeem his land whenever it needs be. Because he's literally joined unto the Most High. He does the offerings, the sacrifices, the laborings, putting in extra work. He really doing more than the rest of the tribes as a whole. Right, but you got it.
Con. That's right. They're always continually doing sacrifices. These two burnt offerings, name a day, offering sacrifices, for the not only for themselves, for their families, but also for the all of Israel. So they were continually doing the work. That's why there was an omnipresent group around Israel, offering for different tribes, and you know what I'm saying, guiding, leading, showing. They had to, if you had any questions about an offering or how to do an offering, you had to Levite at your expense. Kind of just go to a Levite and they'll just teach you and break down certain things to you. So they had to be all around Israel, right? That's why they didn't have an inheritance, and you couldn't, huh?
I was gonna say I got a quick point.
Kanye, you just couldn't buy it off forever. You couldn't just, I don't like my Levite. Matter of fact, let me get your land. No, they gotta be there. What you got your point?
Right. Make a quick point. When you read the Chronicles, you read about the kings. For example, you read Second Kings. I believe that's the second chapter. You read First Chronicles, the 25th chapter, and you see how when these certain kings came in, righteous kings, the Levites had to offer up them a certain amount of 1,000 bullocks, 1,000 sheep. So Levi was putting in work for them. Levi just wasn't sitting down, just eating 11 wafers all day, sitting back with his feet kicked up in the temple. Now Levi, he was offering hundreds, lambs, sheep, goats a day. So they was laboring for the Most High. So for that reason, the Lord again, He gave them certain benefits through the Spirit.
Mm-hmm. Right, all right, so let's read on that. Leviticus 25 and verse 34. But the field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. Verse 35, right? Now I was about to go into the redemption of the poor. Right? And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. So if your brother wax poor, you have to relieve your brother, help him out with his finances, burdens. Yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. So if your brother is poor and, he was made poor in a different land and he comes back, and lives in, Bethaven, right? Will come back to Judah. He goes back, up there to Ephraim, right? And you can tell he's poor and he waxed poor. Then you have to have him live with you. You have to relieve him. You couldn't oppress him, right? Verse 36, take thou no usury of him. You couldn't tax him. All right, every night you stay here is going to be $10 plus tax. That plus tax spirit, right? You can't do that. Take no thou usury of him or increase, but fear thy God that thy brother may live with thee, right? You trying to charge your brother rent. You say, okay, at the first of the month, at the first month of a bib, right? That's evil. Talking about the first month of a bib, I need 30 shekels. That's off. You don't got 30 shekels. Brother, you only got a damn ephah, right? To his name, right? But you kind of just, I need the rent money. No, he had to live with you and you had to relieve him. Verse 30, and that's what we always say. These laws were meant for you not to oppress your brother or sister. That's why they're perfect. Right? Verse 37, thou shalt give him She's like, thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals for increase. Meaning, like what banks do, they lend you money upon usury, right? They tax you on that Federal Reserve note. That's not to your brother. Now, remember, you can do these laws that's pertaining to Israel. Can you give your money out to a heathen and put usury on it? Yeah, of course. Right? If a damn heathen asks me for $1, best believe I want $1.20 back. If you don't have it, then it's gonna be 30 cents per day added on it. Right? But you couldn't do that to your brother. Right? And it says, verse 38, I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. Verse 39, and it says, and if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou should not compel him to serve as a bondservant. So the way that we serve Esau, you couldn't have your brother do that. You couldn't, your brother couldn't serve you the same way that we have to serve Esau, or vice versa. Right? You can't compel it. See that, and then how does the Lord love everybody if he basically said your brother can't be a slave like the rest of the other nations? He has to be treated differently. Well, how does the Lord love everybody? All right, you got a point?
Con, I got a quick precept. Yeah, having servants in the ancient world, that was some very common. Right nowadays, you got these different doctrines in the world. They try to make it seem as if the Lord got down with having Hebrew slaves, which is off. Right, when we read the Bible, you see our fathers when they had Hebrew servants, those servants wasn't slaves. For example, Genesis the 14th chapter. Right, Genesis chapter 14 and verse number 14. Right, Genesis 14 and 14. And we read about Abraham. Even Abraham has servants. Right, this is the book of Genesis 14 and verse 14. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. So Abraham had 318 servants. And not only were they his servants, but they were trained servants. Trained to go to war, trained to go to battle. So servants also, they weren't just your maid, just cleaning up your house all day. Or you do this, snap your fingers, and your servant come and he start acting like a Cinderella. Just start scrubbing the floors. Or you treating them like a slave, like a heathen? That's off. Back then, you had a relationship with your servant, like Elijah and Elisha, right? Moses and Joshua. All right, certain men in the church we read the so-called New Testament has servants. All right, you have Paul and he has certain men under him that served him. Right, so that's you want to make sure that you had that discernment as well between a bond servant and a Hebrew servant when you're going into this thing. Because if you don't get that knowledge or that understanding, you got these different doctrines where you can get seduced or beguiled, and it's always good to know the difference between both through the Spirit. But you got it.
Con, I was trying to look something up because because during the Greek Empire, you had little boys that would wear a hat, and they were servants to damn painters and things, and when you really when they wore a hat, it meant something. I was trying to see if I could pull it up, right? It really went into pedophilia, right? It really went into pedophilia, right? But it's cool. I was trying to see if I could find it, right? Esau made his little boy servants wear hats, right? Let me see if I can pull this up, right? Greek culture, boy servants wearing hats. Right? Let me see if I can find this. Right? Esau be trying to hide his damn pedophilia, but we're gonna bring it out to the Spirit. We weren't doing what these servants was doing. We weren't making our little boys wear hats, right? And then kind of just doing evil, All right, let's see if this is it. All right. Let me see if this is what I want. All right, let me see. And that's actually in the Apocrypha too, where they made them just wear hats. It's kind of just make your servant. You know, you a painter, you Michelangelo, you got a little 9-year-old just wearing hats and just doing things. Right, here you go. The origins of pedestry appear to be related to the relatively late age of marriage for males, which involved a response to these limits to limit population growth in the scarcity-driven economy of the 7th century BC. Right, so they did a lot of homosexual relations between fully adult men and between male youths approximately the same age, right? And they did it to limit population growth. And that's what Esau does now. It's the same thing. They have their servants, or what they so-called servants, engage in pedestry and all manner of evil, right? To limit population growth and all of that. But that was basically what they were doing. They were making their little boys wear hats and kind of, and their servants kind of, doing things, man.
Yeah, I was trying to find it. They got it kind of head up. It seemed like.
Yeah, they hit it right, wearing hats. Let me see if I can pedestry. Right, and the reason why I wanted to say wearing hats is because that's in the Apocrypha, and they were doing that. Right, and that was to kind of symbolize, this is my boy servant, so don't touch him. He's like he's spoken for, basically. If you seen a 9-year-old wearing a hat, then you kind of know what that meant. They kind of, they try to hide this, right? But you kind of know what that meant, you know. But nonetheless,
Yeah, they
there
got
are
it.
long, huh?
So yeah, they kind of got it head up.
Yeah, you know. But nonetheless, you know, you can't just treat your servant. Well, like I said, if your brother or your sister fall on hard times, you can't treat them like a heathen. They're different. We're different. We serve the Most High. We're servants to the Lord. That's why.
And I had that precept on hat on them wearing the hats.
Oh, you did? You found it?
Yeah, that's Second Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 12.
Let's bring this out real quick. Right, Second Maccabees chapter 4. Con.
All right, Second Maccabees chapter 4 and verse number 12. It says, "For he built gladly a place of exercise." Right, if you don't know what that place of exercise is, got to kind of look into it and see what type of exercise they were doing in those gymnasiums. Esau, right? It says, and brought the chief young men under his subjection and made them wear hats. Yeah, wow. Wow, you gotta ask yourself, why is he bringing the chief young men under his subjection? That's again the Esau trying to trying to hide it up. But when we read about the hats and the history of the hats in the Greek fashion, that was basically a symbol to let you know that he was under a old man's dominion. All right, I don't want to get too explicit, but you kind of can put two and two together.
Yeah, you just getting popped by an older man.
Yeah,
That's really what it is. And they making you wear a hat, and you didn't choose the hat that you wanted. They just put it on your head.
yeah, and
Right.
real quick, half of these Greek gods that you're going to, they either go back to some type of astrology, or they go back to pedestry and sexual lewd acts. That's the only two they go back to for the most part. All
Mm-hmm.
right, you got Hermes, you got what's his name? The arrow shoon demon.
Uh,
Cupid.
uh,
Cupid.
and
Yeah, you got
Cupid.
I forgot the name that he go back to. Right, but nevertheless, half of these Greek gods, these Roman gods, they just go back to pedestry, sexual lewd acts, or worshiping the sun and the moon. All right, what you got here?
Um, yeah, man. So that's what Esau makes his chief young men under his subjection do. But when we have our chief young men, that we their armor. Let me go to the book of First Samuel. Let's show you how we treated our young men. Let's see how Jonathan treated his armor bearer. Let's see the relationship they had. Let's see if it was like, let's see if Jonathan had his armor bearer wearing a hat. Right? Let's see. This First Samuel. He didn't have his armor bearer wearing hats, man. All right, this First Samuel 14:1. Now it came to pass upon a day that Jonathan, the son of Saul, said unto the young men that his armor, come and let us go over to the Philistines' garrison that is on the other side. But he told not his father. And Saul tarried the utmost part of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree, which is in Migron. And the people that were with him were about 600 men. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to go to verse 6. And it says that Jonathan said to young men that bear his armor. So these are his servants. They bear his armor. Come and let us go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few. And his armor bearer said unto him, do all that is in thy heart to turn thee. Behold, I am with thee according to thine heart. So his armor bearers was with him, man. Right? They had that trust in him. Right? If he was oppressing them, you think he would said that I am with thee according to thy heart? Right? So this is the type of relationship our fathers have with their servants, man. And I'm led to believe that, like you brought out, Abraham's trained servants, they say, hey, I am with thee according to thine heart. Right? So that's how we treated our servants. And like I said, that all goes back to the what? To the law. On how we were supposed to be dealing with your fellow brother, man.
I got a quick precept, but it just came to mind too. I believe that's 2 Kings, the 6th chapter, where Elijah got taken up, right? And Elisha kind of cried after him. Right, that's the book of 2 Kings, maybe the 2nd chapter. Right, 2 Kings, I believe that's chapter 2 and verse number 2 Kings chapter 2. Let me see where I want to start at. Let's just
3.
Huh?
I think it may be chapter 3.
No, it's chapter 2. I'm just want to see where I want to start at. I don't want to read too much. This
yeah.
whole account kind of fire. I'm gonna start at verse 10. Or I'm starting at verse 10. 2 Kings chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, and he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. Right? Because Elisha had a request to where he should get a double portion of Elijah's spirit. Right? It says, and it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Right? A UFO came down, so-called UFO came down, beamed up Elijah. Right? It says, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his clothes and rent them into pieces. Right? So when he seen his master get taken up, he got real sorrowful to where he tore his clothes into pieces. Right? He wasn't getting abused by Elijah, getting whipped, or getting punished. Nevertheless, in righteousness, right? He looked at him as his father. That shows the relationship that a servant had with his master. Reading on, it says, and he took also the mantle of Elijah and fell from him, that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. Jumping down to verse, I'm gonna jump down to verse number 16. I'm gonna start at verse 15. It says, and when the sons of the prophets which were to view at Jericho saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. And they said unto him, behold, now there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the spirit hath taken them up and cast them upon the mountain or into the valley. And he said, ye shall not sin. Right, and reading this, the servants, when they came unto Elisha kind of didn't want to talk to him because of how grieved he was that Elijah was gone. He kind of ignored him and kept walking through the spirit. Parted the river, I believe. Right, but nevertheless, that shows a relationship. Again, Abraham and his servants, Elijah and Elisha, and countless of other men that had servants. Again, Joshua and Moses. Look how Joshua and Moses' relationship was. Right? But you got it.
Time. Look at Proverbs 29 and 21. Because if you had a servant that you raised up from a child, the Lord said you're supposed to be a father figure unto that. I mean, surely you're going to be a father figure, right, to your servants, leading them, guiding them. This Proverbs 29:21. He that delicately bringeth up his servant from a child. Think about the Lord said delicately, not roughly, but with gentleness, with knowledge, wisdom, understanding. He that delicately bringeth up his servant from a child shall have him become his son at the late. So eventually, that servant is going to be like your son or your daughter, and you're going to be like that mother, or you're going to be like that father in the spirit, right, to that servant, right? So when you're dealing with Israel, you can, as your servants, you kind of see the spirit behind how you're really supposed to be dealing with your brother and your sister, as if you was a father figure, or as if you were just a brother, man. That is, that's relieving your neighbor.
I got one more quick precept on servants, Israel being servants. Right. I brought up the example with Joshua and Moses. I want to bring it out. Joshua 11 and 28. Right. It's the book of Joshua. Right. Joshua chapter 11 and verse 28. It says, and Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men. So Moses had many servants, but Joshua was one of his young men.
You said Joshua 11 and 28?
I mean, Salakia, Numbers 11 and 28.
Okay.
All right, I'm in Numbers 11 and 28, Salakia.
Oh, you got it.
This Numbers chapter 11 and verse 28. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men, answered and said, my Lord Moses forbid them. So Joshua even revered Moses, so he called him his Lord. Right, my Lord forbid them. So again, you can't take these, you can't go to the New Testament, so-called, right? Just read all about the servants and masters obey your servants, servants obey your masters, and pervert your mind. You want to get context on what that's going into. Because these men, they got that concept for somewhere, which is the law. So you always want to go back to the law and relate it how our fathers in the so-called New Testament refer to it and get the full understanding of it, right? You got it.
That's right. You got to get the full understanding of the law. And it's going to help you it's going to be, understanding the law. It's going to help you become a better brother and a better sister to your neighbor. It's going to help you have a better love towards the Most High, because you're going to understand the spirit behind these laws and what they're. And then, like I said earlier, it's going to help you really open your eyes unto the heathen and what they really do. It's going to make you hate them even more, the heathen, because they don't keep these laws on purpose, and they purposely oppress you. How bad they go against the commandment. All right, but let's get a few more. right? Leviticus chapter 25, and start at verse 30, 39 again. And it says, and if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou should not compel him to serve as a bondservant, right? But as a hired servant and as a sojourner, he shall be with thee, and he shall serve thee into the year of Jubilee. And he's able to go out in the year of Jubilee, back to his family, his possessions. You can't have him forever, right? And it says, well, in other circumstances you can, but there are certain things that that goes with that, guidelines that goes with that. All right, reading on, and it says, verse 41, and then he shall depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and he shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his father shall he return. For they are my servants. So the Lord's going to tell you why that you can't rule over them with rigor. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. But do you think Esau gives a damn about that? We the servants of the Lord. All right? We the servants of the Lord. But we serve Esau. And one may say, well, we're the servants of Esau now. You can't oppress your brother because they serve the Most High just like you serve the Most High. Right? And that's the reason. Right? Verse 43, it says, thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear, but shall fear thy God. Let me go to the book of Nehemiah chapter 1. Because our brother, that's one of the sins of our fathers, is that we are ruling over each other with rigor. And Nehemiah had to kind of check. Actually, started Nehemiah chapter 2. He had to check our forefathers for that, man. Right? Actually, Nehemiah chapter. Let's see what I want. I think I went chapter 4, where they was oppressing the Israelites in the land that went back. Right? Let me see. Let's see what I want. Nehemiah chapter 3 and 1. It's cool if I can't find it, but Nehemiah had to get on them about doing that, man. You can't be oppressing your own people. Just destroying your own people in the land. Damn, I can't find it. Let me see. Let me try one more chapter before I move on. I won't waste too much time on this. Nehemiah chapter 6 and 1. That's cool. Right? But when you go into it, they were oppressing their own people in the land, our fathers, and it was getting on Nehemiah's nerves, and he was getting on them for that, because you cannot rule over your own people with rigor. All right, Michael, you know that precept I'm looking for?
I'm looking for it right now. I'm in chapter 3.
Damn, getting on him. I don't waste too much time getting there. I'm gonna get it, Lord willing. But he was getting on him, man. Let's see if I can find this, man. Come. Oh, here we go. Nehemiah 5.
5, Con.
Yeah, and that's why I love, it's a different spirit when you got the Bible, man. You know where it's at. When you look at it in the scriptures, but if you don't have it in your mind where it's at, you know what I'm saying? When you look in here, it's gonna be kind of different. All right, let me go to Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 6. And it says, there we go. And I was very angry when I heard their crying these words. Right? And it says, verse 7, then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and said unto them, you exact usury in every one of his brother, and I set a great assembly against them. So you had men of Israel, nobles, that was taking usury or tax or interest on their brother, man. Verse 8, and I said unto them, we are after our ability have redeemed our brethren, the Jews, because you can redeem your brothers, which were sold unto the heathen. And will you even sell your brethren? or shall they be sold unto us? Then held their peace and found nothing to answer. Because he was rebuking, he was getting on them, man. You over here selling your brother, getting them for usury, putting interest on your brothers. Right? Verse 9. And I said, it is not good that you do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of God because of the reproach of the heathen of our enemies? I likewise, my brother, my servants, my exact of the money had come. I pray you, let us leave off this usury. Restore, I pray you, to them even this day their lands. So you had Jake taking other damn Jake lands, man. Acting like Esau. This oppressing them. How you taking that land belonged to your God and you over here taking the land? Their vineyards, their olive trees, and their houses. Also the 100th part of the money and of the corn, the wine and the oil, and that you exact of them. Right? Then said they, we will restore them and will acquire nothing of them. So will we do, as thou sayest. Then I called the priests and took an oath of them that they should do according to this promise. So Nehemiah was getting on them for what? For oppressing their own brothers. Right? We read up in verse 3. He had them mortgaging their lands, vineyards, and houses just so they can eat, just that we might buy corn because of the dirt. There was a famine, and they were here selling their houses to the nobles just so they can buy some food. Can't be doing that to your brother. Yeah, some.
And I got one quick precept to let me back on that point. Right? Again, not wanting to rule over your brother with rigor. Right? Sirach 33 and verse it's start at verse 30. Right? Sirach chapter 33 and verse number 30. Right? Because again, you don't want to appear as a slave master to your servants. Right? You again, like Nehemiah the 5th chapter, you taking their land, just usurping authority over them, you just being vile and wicked for no reason, just because you can. Right? This is Sirach chapter 33 and verse 30. If thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast bought him with a price. So if you got a servant, you got to treat your servant how you would treat yourself. All right, you can't, again, you can't just get on them for any little reason. That's your brother at the end of the day. All right, Leviticus 19 and verse 17, that still applies. Just because he's a servant, you're over him, doesn't mean you got to treat him like a heathen. That's off. That's why the Lord set up. We may not have time tonight to go into it, but we keep reading on Leviticus the 25th chapter. There's certain ways how you would treat your brother and how you would treat the heathen. Right, reading on verse 31. If thou have a servant, and treat him as a brother, for thou hast need of him. Right? Because at the end of the day, you really need him. Yeah. Right? That's why you bought him in the first place, because you know you need him. Right? It says, reading on, as of thy own soul, if thou entreat him evil, he will run from thee. Which way wilt thou go to seek him? Right? And when your servant went away from you according to the law, you can't fetch him and get him back. Right? You kind of finished. So depending on how you treat your servant, if you treat him vile and wicked, he decides to run away, according to the law, you can't be a slave catcher and go and catch him and bring him back. No, the Lord said, let him be free. Right? And that blood is on your hands because you persecuted your brother into doing that. Now, again, with the heathen, you can do what you want in righteousness. Right? If they out of line, you can beat them, etc. But with your own brother, there's no persecuting your brother. The Lord said verbatim that treat him as you would treat yourself, man. All right, with love, respect, honor. Because again, at the end of the day, that's your brother. You need him, and he needs you through the Spirit. But you got it.
Right. No slave catch a freeman.
Right.
From the Boondocks. Catch a free. That's off. Catch a free man.
Right.
That's off. None of that, man. Against your brother. All right, so let's go back to Leviticus chapter 25. All right. Go back to Leviticus chapter 25. These laws are perfect. All right. Now, Let's read on. Leviticus 25 and 43. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy God. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy for bondmen and bondmaids. So hold on. How does the Lord love everybody if he said, don't treat your brothers the same way as you treat a dirty, dusty goofball heathen? Or you can smack the heathen around. You can whip their back. You put chains and fetters on them. You can put garrisons in their lands. Isn't that what King David was doing? He was putting garrisons in their lands. Wasn't he sawing them in half? Let me get that precept. All right, King David was damn sawing them in half.
I got some of that.
Right? Let me get that in the book of First Samuel real quick. Just for time's sake. All right. I believe that's in First Samuel.
You talking about when Samuel Hugh Agag?
No, King David. They're sawing them in half, man. They're Edomites. You can pull your precept. I'm gonna look for this.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 18, and verse. I'm starting at verse 20. Right, Matthew 18 and 20. It says, "For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I." It's like I must jump up to verse 17. Right, Matthew 5 and 17. I mean Matthew 18 and verse 17. It says, "And if he shall neglect to hear the church," right, dealing with certain matters in judgment, it says, "If he neglect to hear the church, right, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican." So if you have a brother, right, and y'all got an art, y'all get into it, you go up to him 1-on-1. That doesn't work. You take him up to council. That doesn't work. Take him up to the church. If he doesn't hear the church, the Lord said treat him as a heathen. What does that mean? Treat someone as a heathen. All right, these are questions that you got to ask yourself. Why did Christ say treat him like a heathen? How are we supposed to treat heathens? Right? Didn't the Lord call a Herod a snake, a viper? So the Lord, even the Lord lays down how you really should treat heathen. Right? Read Matthew 7 and verse 6, Matthew 15:24 down. How he called the heathens dogs. All right, we get another quick precept in the book of Joshua, chapter 9. Right, this is the book of Joshua, chapter 9, and verse number right, I'm gonna start at verse 20. Joshua 9 and 20. "This we will do to them. We will even let them live, lest wrath fall upon us." Right. So when you read Joshua the 9th chapter, right, you had the men of Canaan, right, the Canaanites, they dressed themselves up and fake like that they were travelers, and they basically made a covenant with Joshua. And Joshua found out that they kind of lied to him. So Joshua could have killed them off the covenant that they made with him. So instead of killing them, Joshua had another idea and plan. Right? Since he found out they was lying, he couldn't really do what he wanted to do. So he did this, verse 21. "And the princess said unto them, Let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation of the princes had promised," as the princess had promised them. So because they couldn't put them to death, they made them slaves for the rest of their life. Right? Hewers of wood and drawers of water. What does it sound like? You just serving them man just to hew, cut down trees and fetch them water all day. No pay, right? Damn, no type of benefits with it. Your only job is to go cut down trees and draw them water and serve the Israelites. And that's a slave. That's what Joshua did to the heathen. And Joshua's perfect. He's righteous. Read the 46th chapter and see what the Lord said about Joshua. I'm going to jump down to verse number 26. I'm going to jump down to verse 26. It says, "And so did he unto them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel. that they slew them not. And Joshua made them that day hewers of wood, right, and drawers of water for the congregation, and for the altar, Slacky, and for the altar of the Lord, even unto this day, in the place which he should choose. So all the days of Joshua, all the days of Joshua and those men that they lived, you know, they were slaves and bondmen. And Joshua didn't get judged for that, right? He didn't get called wicked. The Lord didn't punish him or his children. No, because Joshua kept the law. He knew that he can do that to the heathen. Right, you got it.
I'm going to look at 2 Samuel. All right, let's see what King David was doing. All right, 2 Samuel chapter 8. All right. It's 2 Samuel chapter 8. And we'll start at verse 1. And it came to pass that David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Megeth Ammah out of the hand of the Philistines. And he smote Moab and measured with a line, casting him down to the ground. Even with 2 lines measured he, to put to death, and 4 lines to keep alive. And so the Moabites became David's servants and brought gifts. So what does that mean? Were they treated like the Hebrew servants? No, they were heathens. King David was whooping they back in, and then guess what? He made them bring gifts. Bring me some gifts, you Moabite, my wash pot. King David called these people his wash pot, and guess what? They would bring him gifts. Right? And jump down to verse 6. And it says, then David put garrisons in Syria of Damascus, and the Syrians became servants to David and brought gifts, and the Lord preserved David wheresoever he went. So the Syrians, the Moabites, let's see who else was his servants. Verse 12, of Syria, of Moab, and the children of Ammon, and of the Philistines, and of Amalek. That's going to happen again. Amalek was the servants of David, the slaves of David. Then the spoil Hadadezer, son of Rehoboam, king of Zobah. Right? And David got him a name when he returned from smiting of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. He was killing the damn Syrians, 18,000. They became his damn servants and slaves, giving him gifts. And David, in verse 14, and he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put the garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants, and the Lord preserved David with the servant. So King David had slaves of the other nations. King David, who your grandmother loves to go to the book of Psalms, that guy, King David, had slaves. And best believe he wasn't treating them like a Hebrew. He wasn't treating them like how he would treat Joab, like how he treated his sons. All right? Smiting them. Right? Because guess what? Verse 44, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy for bondmen and bondmaids. Right? So we gotta understand. Huh?
Not saying real quick, I got a quick point too. And with King David, after King David gave up the ghost, those heathens of slaves didn't just disappear. Right? We read First Kings, the 7th chapter, how Solomon built the house for the Lord. You had Hiram. Hey, a lot of the times we read those accounts, it was slaves, with the nations. When you read 2 Samuel, the 8th chapter, they was going out to fetch the wood, right? Going out to fetch the certain things that was made for the building for the house of the Lord. So even King Solomon had slaves that was passed under. Right, and you don't see until I believe that 2 Kings, the 8th chapter, where Esau had just got liberated and started to rebel. And 2 Kings chapter 8 and 16 on down, or 14 on down. So all those kings after King David, they had slaves, right? They had Esau in captivity, Moab in captivity. It wasn't just David, and that shows the difference between a Hebrew servant and a bond servant through the Spirit. Then pass down your slaves, your servants, to your sons and your sons and your sons. Right? You got
That's
it.
right. You can pay. You can buy them from the inheritance. You just that's how Esau did with us. It was passing us down as a gift. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be doing the same thing, Lord willing, in the kingdom, and that's what they were doing before. Right? Let me pull this closing precept. Right? Let me pull this closing precept. Let me go to Revelations. All right, we're gonna continue to touch on this Leviticus 25. Well, it's a lot of Leviticus 25, man. All right. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 25. And it says, but that which you have already hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. So those servants, slaves, dominion over these nations are coming back. And what you gonna be doing? And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. A rod is for correction, hitting, beating, smacking. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my Father. So this spirit is coming back upon these nations, and the Lord said, guess what? You're going to be breaking the nations in pieces. You'll be correcting them with a rod of iron. Imagine having a bar of iron. That hurt. You thought that was just a light thing, like a stick. It's iron. Metal. Imagine you get smacked with an iron baseball bat. Let's see how you feel. You're gonna be in the hospital, you're gonna be holding your jaw.
Right.
We're gonna be dead. We're gonna be smacking the heathen. You know, we're gonna be smacking the heathen with the rod of iron on their back, man. They're gonna be bruises and broken bones and rib cages. As long as they don't die and they get up and they gotta get back to work, man, with broken rib.
Yeah.
Breaking bones. They shall be broken to shivers. You got closing precept.
Right, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 2, and verse number 8. It says, right, Psalms chapter 2 and verse 8, the classic. And again, you know, King David's the elect, like how we always say. He's the righteous. So surely we will pattern our life and our ways after the righteous things that King David asked for, his deeds that he did, the prayers that he threw up. All right, so this is Psalms chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy for thy possession. So King David through the Spirit said, just ask, or the Lord said, just ask, and I will give you the heathen for your possession, for your son's possession. Right? And it gets passed down on and on and on. What does it mean when you have the heathen for possession? That means you own them. So the Lord said, you know, through the Spirit, ask to own the heathen. Reading on verse 9. It says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, right? Like how the brother was going, so you're going to be breaking them with a rod of iron. That steel pole that somehow every Jake got in his basement, right? That one long steel pole. You don't know where it comes from, you just know it's down there. Right? And you're going to be breaking the heathen with that rod of iron. Reading on. It says, and thou shalt dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And I need a Christian to break that down for me. What's that going into? Asking the Lord for a rod of iron, the heathen for your possession, inheriting the earth, and dashing them to pieces with a rod of iron. Right? And that's real dominion right there. Last one. Sirach 43 and verse 30. It says, we glorify the Most High, exalt him as much as he can, for even yet will he far exceed. And we exalt him, put forth all your strength, and be not weary, for he can never go far enough. Right? And no man can go far enough when it comes to serving the Most High God, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Right, what you got it.
That's right. And we're going to continue touching on that Leviticus 25. Lord willing, like so we can continue rolling through the chapter, man. It's a lot of meat, milk, bread, all within this chapter, man.
Yeah.
Understanding the law is very important, you know. But call halal Yahabashim Yahshua. Right, Lord willing, we can, like I said, come back and touch on this and other various topics as well. Right, let's give our praise to Yahabashim Yahshua, Brother Zabayala.
Makwas.
Let it be a mighty strong shalom.
Wow.